over to you.
All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone that is tuning in right now. We're so glad that you are with us with Q&A with Pastor Dr. Brian Pingel. And so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to send in your questions. So please, in the chat, put in questions that you want Pastor Brian to answer. It could be about the church. It could be about what's going on in society right now. This is a Q&A, and so we want to make your voice heard. So please send in your questions. But Pastor Brian, I know a lot of the talk today amongst churches in the community and in the state is that the governor came out and today she eased some of the restrictions on all the counties. And how does that impact our reopening process?
So yeah, no, appreciate it. And everybody I know we have several that are watching on YouTube too. And if you want to post a question on the YouTube chat, that's also available as an option. Or you can put it, or you can link. I think let me just do this really quick. I think I can link we're learning. Here it is. I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to put it over in the chat here. So either way, yeah. So the governor said today, and I listened to it, and one of the things I do appreciate is we're in a state where it seems like there's some good balance. I know people have different opinions on every aspect, but work is to try to do things safe and to do things smart and ease back in and make sure people can still work and livelihoods are not overly interrupted, but at the same time keep everyone safe. Yeah. And so what was announced today really doesn't change our timelines any yet. What she talked about was now for shopping and restaurants in all 22 counties starting Saturday that they can now be eased a little bit. So this is my understanding of how the take is. But large group gatherings are still at 10 all throughout the state. That has not changed. She talked about sporting events and other things. In our state, she has said churches have the right to make the decision. Which is beautiful compared to state right next to us where churches have no right to make any decision, but here we have the right to make a decision on how we worship and when we worship. We know we want to do this right and we want to do this safe. And we've said we're going to follow the large group gathering guidelines. But some of those things keep changing too. But the other thing that I noticed, movie theaters aren't open yet. And if there's something that's very similar model to what we do at a church, it's movie theaters. Right? People come in facing one direction, but there's a lot more conversation at a church. We are working diligently still to put a lot of cleaning things in place, to put some, make sure that we're going to have all the social distancing in place. So we're still hoping within, a couple of weeks that we can make that announcement that here's our opportunity to open. But right now we're still going to, on our website, if you go to sierrafirst.org, there's our coronavirus update section right on the main page, and we're going to still follow the plan that's in place there, and it's still going to be a little bit, so we're making some good progress, but I still think it's going to be a couple weeks before we start working towards in person. And just so everyone knows, our online stuff is not going away. We're going to keep both in.
We'll keep it all
during this time because I think it's just important.
Yeah, I'm ready to get back, Pastor Brian. I am ready for the restrictions to be lifted, and but it's exciting that it's starting to move a little bit forward. I know that during this time, it seems like a lot of people's anxiety levels are high, and if you listen to the news much, people are kind of worried about the reopening. I even just talked to my neighbor today, and we were kind of talking about the restrictions, and she's like, "Yeah, I think it's too soon to move forward." And so people are worried about staying locked down, and people are also worried about who's making these decisions. So people are just frustrated and anxious in general. Yeah. So what do you think about that? What do you have to say, knowing people's feelings and what they're struggling with?
Yeah, I was texting a family member right before we started. I think it's probably a little of our delay because they're really worried. Legitimately, they have a roommate who is it has very severe asthma, whether it's a bad lung condition. By the way, Nate, you're doing much better. I know people.
Yes.
Pretty much. You're symptom free, right?
Completely symptom free.
Right. Yep. So there are those like you and that are symptom free. Went through it, are better. I know there was just talked with somebody in our church who had a coworker who was 35 years old and just died here in the area.
Wow.
Don't think there was some underlying health issues and not. So it's And in the same token, we're being told what to do, when to do, how to do it. Right? It's an anxious time. And I think what the reason the anxiety is kicking in so high is there's just such a level of unknown, right? We all have goals. What happens with anxiety, it's basically we're owning the weight of a problem that's coming tomorrow today, right? So we're owning the weight of something that hasn't yet occurred.
Yeah.
And maybe this, maybe that, and it's something that we're usually not in control of, right? And that's one of the reasons that we deal with anger, that we deal with anxiety, is because we're not in control. Somebody else is in control. Something else is happening, and we're frustrated that we don't have that sense of control in this. And so I totally understand it, that there's this anxiousness and there isn't a peace, because what is real, right? You can listen to the news, you can listen to all these different things. And my goal is to help us understand that, your anxiety is real. What you're feeling, your frustration is real, but you don't need to own it. And really, I think what we want to talk about today is how do we deal with, no matter if we're afraid that they were opening too quick or we're not opening quick enough, we need to get back to work. We don't, wherever you're at on that journey, that's an okay place to be, but it doesn't need to own you, and it doesn't need to impact your relationships with other people that might have a different viewpoint than you.
Yeah. My neighbor, she just seems to really be worried about, everyone's kind of talking about this second wave of it. And that is like a big part of her anxiety, is just what's to come, what is to come after this settles down and what can come back. And, we're talking about, what it's like to have a non-anxious presence in a very anxious time. So like, how do you do that? How do you have a non-anxious presence in the midst of COVID-19?
So let's define that first, okay? So a non-anxious presence is, I think we all can understand what an anxious presence is. Yeah. Right? If you've been around somebody and they're just anxious, you're like, I just feel anxious with them. But how do we walk around other people and we bring a non-anxious presence? Right? There's something about certain people, and it's a skill set. And there's some things you can learn this. This isn't just a nature issue. This is something that can be learned. How do you walk into a situation, and what a non-anxious presence, it's part of having a healing relationship. And let me explain it this way. When we have a relationship with other people, some people make us better, and some people make us bitter, and some people make us stronger, and some people make us weaker. Yeah. And I want the goal for all of us to be the type of person who, in every relationship we're in, we make people stronger and better. And the healing relationship requires empathy, and it means I can understand the steps you're walking in. All right, I can get where you're coming from. I understand it. I hear it. And there's a non-possessive warmth, meaning I can care for you without owning your problem. And a non-anxious presence is saying that I'm going to be there, but even if you throw crazy anxiety at me, I've explained it this way before. When we're parenting, when we parent little ones, which you'll have the joy of, I think,
someday, hopefully.
Babies puke way too often, right? Yeah. Kids puke, they get sick, they throw up, and they have issues. And you don't see a parent, right? We would just absolutely be mortified if dad's holding a child and the child pukes on him and he like freaks out. Oh my gosh, what in the world are you doing? They puke, you take it, you clean it up. Yeah. A non-anxious presence is kind of like that emotionally with other people. That you can take the emotional vomit of other people and not be rattled by it.
Yeah.
That you don't react to it. You don't respond to it. It doesn't cause a gag reflex in you. It doesn't cause you to run away from the situation. It doesn't try to over control it. But, because really we talk about fight or flight. And I know I throw a lot of different terms out here, but fight or flight is really we underfunction or we overfunction in the midst of something that makes us anxious. That either we disappear, underfunction, that's the flight factor, or we fight, overfunction. We try to do too much. We try to be in control.
What's a real life example of that? Because I love that. What's a real life experience that you've seen both of
So
those?
I have kids. I have two boys that are the exact opposite on those things.
Okay.
So I remember one time we were moving a couch in the house, and this thing was heavy, and I can't remember why, or maybe some appliance or something. It was heavy, and I got stuck on a corner with it, and one of my sons was there, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, I need your help. I need your help now, because like this is heavy. This is hurting. I'm not in a good spot." His reaction was, "Why are you yelling at me? What did I ever do? What's the matter with me?" And then,
Yeah.
my other son jumps in, grabs it. "I got it, Dad. You can let go now, right? And I got this." Right? Like they're just two different responses.
Yeah, that's good. That's a
And
good
I
example.
think that most of us, we're one of the two.
Yeah.
And what non-anxious presence is, I'm neither. I'm going to function. I'm not over functioning. I'm not under functioning. I'm balanced. I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm not rattled. You puked, doesn't impact me.
Well, again, before we go on to another question, I just want to encourage everyone, again, we're so glad that you're on here. Please send in your questions. Go into the chat, the Q&A portion. Send in your questions. We would love to hear from you. Pastor Brian,
I
I
see you,
get that.
Audra. I see you, Karen.
Come on now. Yeah. We're so glad you're
they're
here.
chatting over on the YouTube.
Good. How does that work on like a personal level? Like, I just know there's a lot of people that are worried, about going back to work if they've been home or if they've had fewer hours or working from home. What does that look like?
So I had one of those conversations this week, and love the person I was having the conversation with. And like, here's what I've noticed: the closer you are to someone, the harder it is.
That's so true. That
right?
is so true. Yeah.
If it's your parent, if it's your spouse, if it's your kid, if it's somebody that you're close to, we don't do as good of a job containing our over-functioning, under-functioning. We're not as much of a non-anxious presence.
Yeah.
We tend to, partly one of the reasons is because we've had these conversations so many times, we're just tired of having that conversation so many times. And so we tend to react not in a healthy way. But with neighbors and with friends, we can be better. But I've noticed we tend to be either a little bit too passive or still too aggressive.
Yeah.
Right? That might be the better terms with people that are like neighbors, coworkers. We're passive in the conversation, and we just, oh yeah, okay, or we're aggressive and we're like, I just think you're wrong. I think we're trying to win an argument. Loved ones, that's stupid. Why are you thinking like that?
Exactly.
That filter factor is a little bit different. So I think, is being a non-anxious presence is learning how to be genuine to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not changing who you are. You're not changing your opinions, but you can still, and you can receive their stuff. You can have empathy with what they're saying. I can receive it, but it's not going to move me. I'm still going to care. And there's a warmth, right?
Yeah.
So this is, like I said, the categories of a healing relationship. So if I'm in a relationship with you and we're having a conversation and you're getting heated, what I need to remind myself is I need to be intentional right now. Like I was, when I would train young pastors, I tell them, go into caregiver mode, but be intentional.
Yeah.
There has to be a switch that goes off in your head. I'm going to be a non-anxious presence. It's kind of like I'm going to get both feet planted beneath me, and I'm going to be healthy in this. I'm not going to take their emotional vomit and react to it. I'm going to let them emotionally vomit all over me. What a great analogy, right?
How have you grown in that? Because I know that is way more easier said than done, right? When things are getting heated, for you to settle your emotions and to really try to be empathetic and remind yourself, I need to be intentional. How have you grown in that over the years? That's a struggle for a lot of people, including myself.
Oh, it is. And I'll tell you, it's learned. It is. This is something you have to intentionally do. And so I'm using some of these words over and over again because it's very true. This isn't natural. To be a non-anxious presence, there are very few people who are naturally a non-anxious presence. It's a learned behavior. And you do have to watch yourself. One, it's evaluating. Okay, what happened that caused my emotions to rise right now?
Yeah.
Like let's go real practical right now. A lot of people listen to the news and get angry.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? You listen to the news. I can't believe they said that about the president. I can't believe they said that about this reporter. I can't believe they said that this person's lying. They're out to get us. Everyone's out to get us on some sense. And I understand the frustration in it. But in those things, I think we have to go, okay, what do I know is true? I know that there's a God in the universe who cares for me, that I'm held in his hands. I know, like, you have to go back to those things that I know. And I don't just react to the situations that are being forced in front of me. So I think how I've learned it is I've had to learn in those conversations to, sometimes I focus on my breathing. Like, it sounds really ridiculously simple.
No, that's good.
But just going, okay, I'm just going to breathe slow, because and I'm gonna be really good at listening, and I'm gonna be really good at repeating back what I heard. Like that, what that does is it slows you down.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say, would it be accurate if I said you think? And I'm literally trying to say it in a way that they will say yes.
Yeah.
Because what happens if I repeat that back to somebody? So like we're getting in a heated conversation, and with a spouse, with a kid, and I go back to them. Hey, is this what you're saying? Am I hearing you right? No, you're not hearing me right. I'm saying this. They'll clarify for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm hearing you say this. Would that be accurate? Okay. All right. So it slows me down that I'm not reacting to things. Because the other thing that we tend to do is most of us only listen until we have something we want to respond with. I listen to respond, right? As soon as you say something and I've got a response, I quit listening.
Yep. You're just thinking about what you're going to say.
Right. And I just quit. I quit listening, and I'm going to say, and now I'm looking for the chance to say what I need to say. And it doesn't matter what you're saying anymore. I just want to say what I think I need to say. Yeah. And so that becomes part of it. So it slows you down. So if I repeat back, what is it that I'm hearing you say? Man, it sounds like what you're feeling. And can you help in learning how to name their feeling? So are you feeling disappointed? Are you feeling betrayed? Are you feeling this? Try to name it. And if you can name it, and again, if you're not right, are you feeling this? They'll correct you. It's beautiful. It's actually a really healthy way for communication to happen. And okay, well, here's how I'm feeling. And learning to say, if there's a response back, can I name my feelings? And if I learned how to do that. And, I think the other big piece is don't underestimate prayer in this. Just, God, I'm struggling right now. I need to pray and help me to really hear this person, help me to have a healthy conversation. I don't think you don't have to still get walked over. God never says, let everyone walk all over you, a guy that has stronger opinions than you. No, you can still state what you need to say, but do it in a way that's not emotionally vomiting on them. So it's making sure that I'm not being reactive. I'm just speaking, I'm communicating. And it could be there's sometimes some people are just quicker verbally. And what I've noticed too is when somebody's quicker verbally, then those, if you're not, we tend to respond more emotionally and more cutting.
That's good.
Because we don't know how to keep up with the conversation. And it's okay sometimes to walk, well, I'm not seeing it that way. I see it differently. I can understand that how you see it, and I appreciate it. And like I said, it's complicated, but learning how to be a non-anxious presence is a learned behavior.
Yeah. Two things that practically what you just said, are takeaways for me. One, repeating back, because one, you're forcing yourself to listen. Like you said, when you have a response, it's so easy to shut off your mind and not listen anymore. And every person wants to be heard. And so the fact that you can repeat something back means you're listening, but you're also going to disarm the person you're talking to. And then I also loved your practical idea about breathing. Like that sounds so simple and that sounds like such a little thing, but it's huge. I know as a college golf player, we did breathing drills and activities that would help us and train us to control our breathing. And I remember thinking it was the dumbest thing in the world. And all of a sudden I started doing it. And it was the first time on the golf course I did it. I shot my best collegiate round as a golfer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it really controlled my breathing. And so I love that. It's such a good idea. How do you handle when like a family member or coworker are on complete opposite sides of the viewpoint or of what you're dealing with, especially with COVID-19 right now? I mean, like you said, you can listen to people, but sometimes people are just complete opposites. How do you handle that?
Run.
Run. Yeah.
No. It is, I think you do, and you're going to have that at home. You're going to have that in other situations. There's not a quick way through it, right? It is complicated on some things. And sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. So, I think we're just going to agree to disagree on this. But this is why I'm seeing it. So I think one, learn to, what's the why for you? What is the why and what's the why for them?
Yeah.
I think right now what we're hearing on the news is if you want to reopen quick, you want people to die and you're greedy. Or if you want to everyone to stay home, you want to control the economy and everyone to be just in a socialist state. Like those are the two. It's like one or the other. There is no middle ground.
Yep, exactly.
I've found that very few people are on those extremes. If they're really wise, no, we have people that are there, and then it's going to be really hard to find common ground for a conversation. So, but that's why I think listening, we tend to say, well, okay, we're not that far apart. We do agree on this. We do agree that we want people to be safe and we want people to be loved. That's, I know for people, we have some people that want to be in church yesterday, and we have some people that have said we've started, I think we talked about here a little bit too. We started health check round 2, where people are calling each other. And part of it, we have a survey. So if you go to our website, sierrafirst.org, and on the front page, there's a health check survey. And we want to hear everyone. What's your opinions? How do you feel about it? And I know in just the very couple we've gotten back already, we got some that are saying, I'm ready to come back yesterday. Let's do it. And we got others that have said, I'm probably not coming back until we have a vaccine in place. And that's okay. Like it really is. It's okay to have both perspectives in this. And I think it's what we're saying is if somebody's really far off going, let's agree on this. We think every life is valuable.
Come on.
Absolutely valuable.
Yeah.
We think every life is important and every life has purpose. Can we agree on that? Yes. Yeah. How we handle that in this situation, we're not seeing the same path to get there, but I think we can agree. I love people to live, and you want people to live. I think people have purpose and value, and you think people have purpose and value. Let's agree on that.
Yeah, that's a great way to diffuse the situation. During this time, as the lead pastor of CR First, what's been the biggest challenge leading the church through this?
Well, it's communication. So now I got to shout out to Rebecca over there. Let's see. I got to, because I'm seeing some people check in, which is good. Let's see if there's other people I'm not calling out. Deborah's here, Leanne's here, Nicole's here. Great. Hi, everybody. Glad you guys are joining, but that are live. Some are going to be watching this a little bit later. I think, honestly, the biggest challenge is it's the communication. Yeah. I miss seeing everybody's eyes. I miss interacting with people, just like all of us do. I'll tell you, there's not a person that I've talked to that doesn't want that. And so, like, we have to communicate a lot through social media, and people can mistake that as, hey, why are you communicating this way? What's the way we have to communicate? And the hardest part, I think, for me is communication is one-sided. Healthy communication, because we were created for dialogue.
Yeah, that's good.
We were created really for interaction. I know whenever I speak, I love watching people's eyes. I love reading people's hearts, right? Being in that room. And right now it's a little bit different. And so I know we're still connecting, and I pray through that a lot, but the ability to communicate in a healthy way is a struggle.
Yeah.
As a team, we're online all the time with each other. We have team meetings, people from different places, and
Yeah.
because we need to keep each other healthy, and we got a couple of people that are pretty high risk if they're around, and you've been high risk
Yes, I
significantly.
have.
Yep. So you can't be around.
Yeah.
But we can still communicate this way, but it's still not quite the same.
I know for me, during this season, like it's been roller coaster in terms of my relationship with Jesus. There's times it's amazing, and then it's like, man, there's like 3 days where I just feel like I'm lazy. I'm sick of being at home. It's easy to get down in the dumps, and obviously, our relationship with Jesus is always up and down. Like, what would be your advice for someone to say, hey, how can you really grow closer to Jesus during this time, given the circumstances? I mean, right, it should be so much easier because we're home more, we have less distractions in a way. And so practically, it looks like it should be much easier just to sit and spend time with Jesus, but it's amazing because of all that's going on. That's the last thing we do. What would you give
Yeah,
for advice for
we've
that?
noticed that. It was even interesting this week for Mother's Day. It was probably our lowest attended service, which usually it's our highest in-person attended service. Like it's people come to church on Mother's Day, but this year it was kind of like, oh, let's hang out with mom, which
Yeah.
I get. Like we love
Yeah.
mom. We'll get to God again, and we'll be okay. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how things were. And I'm the same way. I was like on a health regimen, pretty strong. And then the last 3-4 weeks I'm just at home all the time. I don't have a good rhythm. My rhythm's out of whack. And, I think intentional rhythms are always healthy, and learning. And actually, it's main topic of the message Sunday. And you don't even know that because you haven't been with me recreating my message this week.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about how do we use a crisis to see it as an opportunity to grow. We have to prepare, and how, because see, one of the things that happens is when a crisis happens in our life. So let's say we're going along in life and we lose a loved one. We go along in life, we get in a bad accident. We go along in life and we lose our job. We go along in life and the world shuts down, right? All of us, when we enter into this grief cycle, when our world gets rocked, our lives kind of do this for a little bit.
Yeah.
And when we come out of it, we either come out of it in one of three places. We either come out lower functioning than when we went into it because we're too worried, we're overcome. Is number two is we can come the same functionality, and number three, we can do higher functionality. And how we're prepared for it ahead of times is going to determine how we come out of it. And so in the midst of this is leaning in and saying, God, I want to come out of this stronger. I want to come out of this better. I've been so frustrated with some of the ads that people are just saying, just stay home and watch more TV. I think that's the worst thing that we can do as a culture.
Yeah.
I would say, no, go on more walks. Get your Bible app out, have it read the scriptures to you, dig into the word. You have to pay the price for intimacy with God. And that takes effort to do that. And so I really think we need to take this time and put some effort into it. And I think you mentioned, I mentioned, it's so different right now that we've got to make those moments. But take the moments in the morning, take some moments in the afternoon. Like I've learned this a few times since I'm working at home most of the time. There are times it's like, okay, I'm working later at night because I'm kind of just working all day.
Yeah.
Take some time in the afternoon, go for a walk. Make sure that you're praying, make sure that you're worshiping. When you have worship opportunities, lean in. We're about to launch a couple more things like this Q&A and other things. Say, God, help us grow. Help us grow spiritually in this. I think the big key word tonight is intentionality.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be intentional in how you want to grow and how you want to respond to things.
One thing that you've always said that I think fits perfectly with what we're going through now is that you have to create that margin in your life for it. You have to be, like you said, be intentional with your relationship with Jesus, but you have to schedule it. we're here, we're home a little bit more, we're not going out as much. But if you don't schedule it and create that margin in your life, even though there might be more time, you're not going to grow closer. You have to be willing to schedule it and to seek time out. And so that's a piece of advice you've given me that has really helped me continue to grow my relationship with Jesus. What are you thinking? Like, once I'm thinking to looking towards the fall, right? People are talking about this kind of second wave that could be coming. What are your thoughts on that? Like, should people be worried about that? Obviously we're wanting to start up and start making progress to getting back together and meeting as a group gathering. How much do you take into that?
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. So I'm just going to lean in real quick. So I just looked at my desk and I've got myself a little, I'm not even sure how much is on this. It might be a $5, but I got a Starbucks gift card for whoever puts the best question in the chat. All right.
I like that.
So somebody needs to get a good question in the chat and help us with this. And just to let people know too, my plan is in the coming weeks, I'm looking at trying to get a couple people in, looking at Dr. Carolyn Tennant, who's actually a renowned expert on revivals throughout history, to have her come in and talk through some things. I'm leaning in a couple of my other friends, Dr. Alan Tennyson, who's a highly respected theologian.
He's amazing. Yeah.
And we're not just going to talk COVID stuff, right? Right now we just kind of are, but like tonight I really want to talk mental health, and on all those things. So I think, if we do get a second wave or not, we're, like I said, what I appreciate, I heard the governor today, she's like, we're going to take educated steps, so it's not everything's open yet. And take steps, and let's make sure we move ahead smartly and slowly. And we're going to go along with that. And if people are starting to get sick again, we're going to have to be careful again. Everyone's got different opinions on it, but I think the bigger issue for me is the mental health issue. Because let's say it does come back again. How are people going to handle it? I read an article yesterday. I think it was one of the major news outlets. But it was kind of a research piece that there's a lot of experts and a lot of they're really worried about a coming wave of suicides. And that the suicides are going to be impacting our culture because we are at home. We don't have good rhythms. I've been talking with people in our church that have kids at home, and their kids are acting out now in ways that they didn't act out before, and because they can't be with their friends. They're just in the same environment all the time, and they're just frustrated more than they've been frustrated before. And that's where I think it comes back to that non-anxious presence thing, and that healthy personality, healthy relationships, and how do you help people in this? And because I am worried about people's mental health through this. Yeah. All right. Because depression's a real thing, right? God, absolutely. It's okay to, we say it all the time, it's okay to not be okay. God doesn't want to keep you that way. So I'm still waiting for someone to ask me a good question.
I know, right? Come on. We want to hear from you guys. Make sure
it could be anything. All right. Next week, I got somebody else coming in. But I think the mental health piece that I want is when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling isolated, when you're feeling lonely, that you're honest and that you have other people that can call you out on it. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest concern right now, right? Is people are alone, and so they can suffer without other people noticing that they're suffering. And that is a legitimate, significant concern. One of the things we've done at CR First is, if you go to our website now at crfirst.org, we have a chat with a pastor. And so you can schedule a 10-minute little video chat like this with one of the pastors on the team. One of us will get online, talk to you, because we want to help you process things. We want to help you, because what we've learned with mental health issues is if you keep it in here, it grows and becomes bigger. But when you're able to put it out here and articulate what you're worried about, what you're feeling, it actually becomes more manageable. Oh, I've said it. It's no longer this monster, because in our brains, it's infinite in size. Yeah. When we speak it out, when we put it out in front of us, when we have a conversation with someone else, it shrinks in size. And it gives us the capacity to label it, to put a name to it, to hear other people's perspectives on it, and all those other kind of things. And I think that's the piece that we have to be really important during these times, that we work together during this.
All right, we got a question for you. I've always been at my lowest places when I've been isolated from people. How can we get together more with other people in the church? I feel like I've been writing this out by myself, but I also know that I'm more of a unique place, as I'm also dealing with pregnancy hormones and the loss of a friend.
Yeah, it's so tough, right? I mean, and I think doing things like this, right? That's why we're trying to do these elements. And that, like I said before, but we don't have the back and forth conversation to make sure that we can connect with each other, and that phone calls are good. Getting involved in a life group. We're about to launch a couple of specific new life groups that'll go for like 6 weeks, but they're meant for people that it's all going to be online. And those are going to be really critical things. So, one of the things that was good recently, we did it for some people when we did our different our ways of serving our community. People were able to come in and volunteer and serve. And that was so good for everybody that was involved. We're going to be doing, allowing people, we want people to help come to the property and pick up, it's just kind of trash. It's just walking through and picking up garbage, but really it's walking as much as possible. We want those options, but I would say, life groups are really a good option to connect. And there's just ways to turn that in. And we're going to launch at the beginning of June. We got a couple more that we're relaunching, some new ones, and calling people. It is tricky right now.
It is. Here's a great question from one of our attendees here. Here's a question regarding what our reopen process will look like. Will you be screening attendees with temperatures or questions before service, or just trust and we're all respecting our church family? Are masks going to be required?
So we're gonna really think. I really believe that everyone's going to be honest and healthy, and so we're going to put make sure that it's clear that if you're feeling ill, don't come to church. We're not going to do scans at this point. We're not they're not requiring a scan at Walmart, and so we're not going to hear. I think it's a little bit more than what we know the capability of doing that. We're going to have healthy signage. In the first phase, we're saying masks are encouraged coming in and out, but they're not required. It really, honestly, no, we're not going to police that in any way, shape, or form. We're going to ask our serve team members to wear a mask, and here's the reason why: is because when people are coming in and out the doors, and when they're in the lobby area, which sometimes can get pretty congested pretty quick. We're probably going to put stanchions in just to help traffic flow and encourage people not to visit in the lobby. They visit outside or in the sanctuary where we got plenty of room to spread out and social distance. And we're going to encourage people. We're going to make it very clear. We want people to do the social distancing in a healthy way, because we care for our neighbors. I think I go back to Nate. You were around and didn't know you had anything. And
no idea.
And we want to make sure that we're staying safe with that. So we're going to be we're going to be a balanced, healthy approach, but we're not policing things.
I'm excited for it. I know, Pastor Brian, you were talking about mental health, and I know that's one of your expertise topics. I mean, I know you did your doctoral thesis on that topic as well. You talked a lot about noticing when you're struggling with your mental health. How do you start to notice that in other people? Or how do you approach that? Like, I know, like you said, it's tricky to ask people. It's hard to see some of those signs. What advice could you give in that?
It's a really good question. And it depends on how close we are to someone, how we ask. I think always be motivated in love. All right. That's the main thing, is it's motivated in love. What most people do is they tend to put up walls and barriers because they're afraid that they're going to be labeled. I'm not depressed. Why do you think I'm depressed? It comes across as you're lesser of a human in your functionality that if you have one of those labels placed on you. So we really fight those labels. So I would say, one, avoid labels. Hey, I'm just checking in. I want to see how you're doing. How's your hope meter doing right now? Right? How hopeful are you? How healthy? Like how are you handling this emotionally? Get curious. That's usually the first thing that I do. As I just say, get curious.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious because I care about you. And but also don't be afraid to ask, because I think that's the piece. Is most people are afraid that you want to rescue them, right? And if I think that you're out to rescue me, I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. I'm just not. I would rather but if I think you want to be a companion with me in my journey, then I'm more open to talk to you. So we the reason we reach out to people is not to rescue them. The reason we reach out to them is because we want to be a companion with them on their journey.
I love how you said that. I love how you said you're not there to rescue them. You're just there to be along this journey. Because you're, like you said, if they feel like you're trying to fix someone, if you're trying to fix me, it's so easy to put up your defenses and your walls.
Yeah, it really is. It becomes really easy on how to make those things. Anyway, I was reading the question. Sorry.
You're good. One question that came in is, what do you say to people who are struggling with a sense of purposelessness or identity, especially if they've recently lost their job or a loved one? What would you say to that? How could you help them?
Well, I think we have to ask, just ask really good, give hope in a healthy way. Right. I think we're going to talk about this on Sunday a little bit, because I think sometimes we give cheap hope responses, and we lose our identity. We're like, hey, what if no, you're not going to lose your job. But I think it's more going, no, you have something valuable to offer this world, and it's going to be needed.
Yeah.
And I think we have to remember our job is not our identity. Our actions are not our identity.
Yeah.
Our identity comes because of who we are in Christ. And the best way to think about that as a believer, and when it comes to our identity, I always come back to the term righteousness. Righteousness means we're in complete right standing with God. Mm-hmm. And when you know that you're righteous, like you're in complete right standing with God, like you're a child of God. And people are like, oh, those are cute terms. What does that mean? I like to think of it this way. So this coat I'm wearing, Scripture says righteousness is never anything that I own on myself. Yeah. What righteousness is Jesus taking the coat of his presence and placing it on me. That's good. And saying, you have everything I have. It's him placing identity and hope on us and putting it completely on us. And so to know that he's placed his identity on you, it's not dependent upon your job. It's not dependent upon other people's responses to you. It is fully his righteousness covering you, enveloping you, and knowing that you have the full presence of Jesus in your life. So when God looks at you, he sees Jesus, and there's nothing you need to do to earn it. It's fully there. And so I think that becomes a really critical part for us to understand. I'll tell you, once I got this analogy with the coat piece that he clothes me, whenever I feel restless, whenever I'm feeling, I'm dumb, I'm not making connections, I'm not connecting. I'm like, if you don't think pastors go through that, I'll just tell you, in the last 6 months, we've had a couple of high-profile young pastors commit suicide.
Yeah, we have.
And it's because we all struggle with what's my purpose, what's my identity, how are people responding to me, am I doing things the way that I'm supposed to do it? I learned Jesus is the one that clothes me, and I put it on with him. It changes everything, because I just know, no, my identity is secure. Yeah. My identity is completely secure, because Jesus rose from the grave, and that can't be changed.
For you, just to expand on that point, what was the defining moment in your life where you feel like you 100% found your identity in Jesus, right? And who God sees you as? What was that moment for you? Like what led you to that spot, and how did you get there?
Oh, it's like everything, it's a journey,
Yeah.
right? But I think I'm trying to think if there was a moment when there was something that just clicked. Uh, like I said, I think and I do mean that seriously, when I got the analogy of he clothes us
That was
with
it.
righteousness, that really did help me immensely because it wasn't anything that I had to do on my own. Because I think
Yeah.
we all struggle with, am I doing enough? What's my purpose? Am I smart enough? Am I articulate enough? Am I cute enough? Am I liked enough? Am I
Yeah.
enough? And Jesus says he's more than enough, and he fills us to overflowing and beyond capacity. I'd be wrong if I'd say I don't still struggle with it at times because I'm human,
Yeah.
and we're all human. I was listening to somebody I just look up to as a mentor from afar. I love their reading and I love their speaking, and even recently that they were like, had a company and multi-millions and was kind of a side business on top of their ministry, and their partner took them for everything. They lost everything, and he said he went to deep depression for a little bit till he remembered that that doesn't define me. Right? The money
Yeah.
doesn't define me. The people's responses don't define me. If I have to quit this job tomorrow and go get a job doing deliveries, I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because I know who created me. I know who's called me. I know who gives me purpose. Is it going to be tough? And we wrestle with some things because usually that means there's a mistake and there's shame and all those other kind of things in place. Yeah. Um, I know a lot of people struggle with what they watch and what they get involved in because it's a lack of purpose and a lack of identity.
Mm.
And so this is a big issue. Like actually,
Yeah.
you open a can of worms. I'm just skirting around it
Yeah.
instead of diving into it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we probably have time for just one more kind of a question here.
Okay.
I know somebody had asked too about, hey, what about, hey, who's trying to manipulate and what's happening with this? How should we do this? I'll just say personally, right? I think we got to be really careful in this time because I'm one on any of those kind of things. If somebody says this, I'm pretty much guaranteed there's always a second side to the story. So if someone's over here, that means there's going to be somebody way over here. Probably the truth is going to be buried in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And to fight for it. I really am convinced that I don't think there's anyone intentionally, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there is somebody very intentional and evil in this. But I really think that people want what's best for other people. Right now we have conflicting worldviews.
Yeah.
How people see the world, how they orient themselves to the world around them, and seeing those different worldviews, I think, is an important piece. It is frustrating, right? Because you can talk to this person, they say this, and then talk to this person, they both say the other side's lying, and it's messy. And do we have to build up our immune systems? I mentioned this last time, but I'll just say it again quick. I think I was one in the very beginning, just saying, "Hey, it's like the flu. Come on, we're overreacting to this." When I looked at the month of April, and the highest number of people have ever died of the flu is 7,112, I think. But we had 56,000 people die with COVID-related illnesses but they had other issues, right? So it sped up their death for most of them. That's pretty rough. And there's none of us that have. I have parents in their 70s. I want all of them to be healthy. I don't want them to get sick with something that could have been prevented and to lose them too quick. And so I get both sides, right? I really do in this. And I think we just lean in and say, hey, no matter what other people are saying, I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to follow the right procedures. I'm going to make sure the people around me stay healthy. And we're gonna come out of this not lower functioning, not even we're functioning where we are. I want us to come out higher functioning, bringing hope into the room, bringing healing into the room, bringing encouragement to the room, and not looking for someone to blame, but looking for a solution that we can be a part of together because we need each other. My question was before, when we're isolated, we struggle. We do. We need each other, and so we have to be in this together. And I appreciate that we can do this and have a time when we can talk with each other. Now we're going to move to our prayer service in just a minute, but I love that we can have this conversation, talk with each other, and encourage each other.
Yeah.
I love each of you guys. You guys are phenomenal.
Yes, we're
Miss,
so
miss
glad you
all of you.
guys are
Forget all
on.
the names. Miss y'all.
All hearts, all hearts. Now, Pastor Brian, you got to mention who's going to get this $5 Starbucks gift card.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? You're going to have to look through here, and because we need to make sure we know who's got a Starbucks gift card coming their way.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone said for an example, they're setting up. I will say this is actually a pretty good idea. I'm not sure who this is, but Karis Libri. If you will email your information to questions@crfirst.org. So is it C-A-Y, Carrie S. Libri. So whoever that is, email me
Whoever
your
you are,
info and we'll send this to you because you had
come
some
on.
good things. But they said their family is setting up virtual game nights and virtual movie nights.
I love
And
that.
so like I was just thinking, like it's a watch party. Hey, set
Yeah.
Zoom up on your computer, tune into Netflix and watch the same show and talk to each other while you're watching it. You know, get some friends together and do that kind of a thing. And play a game together, you know, set it up and do Zoom, do Facebook chat and put your video in between. I love that we can do that. Encourage each other and let's have fun together.
Well, Pastor Brian, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I know you are busy, and I'm just thankful that you're willing to take questions, you know, and just give your honest answers. I know it's a lot of pastors don't always want to really be vulnerable with what they've gone through in their journey and ups and downs, and you're always so willing to just be real. And I think that just speaks a lot about you. So thank you so much for doing that when you answer questions. And I'll give you the last word here tonight before we head to prayer service.
I just appreciate y'all. Next week, we're going to try to get some other guests that'll join us from around the country. And so if there's topics that you want us to cover, I would encourage you, put it in the chat. If there's topics you want us to cover, you can email it to questions@crfirst.org. It's always a great spot to email things that we put together to make all this take place. We're going to move into our prayer service too. That's going to be online here. So we got to jump off YouTube so the prayer service can start. And appreciate all of you. You guys are great. And we'll talk soon.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Bye, y'all.